Hey everyone, I want you to think about a question really quick. What is the role of a superhero? Now, if we were in person, a lot of you would give me answers. Some of you might say a superhero's job is to model the latest in spandex fashion. Some of you might say a superhero's job is to help old ladies cross the street, to fight bad guys, and also in the process to accidentally destroy a ton of buildings. And maybe while superheroes all do this to an extent, I think the true role of a superhero is this: superheroes help others. And we kicked off a series called Origin Story, where we're talking about this idea of heroes fighting for justice. And superheroes are known for helping people. And really quick, I want you to watch this video from an organization called Love Beyond Walls and to see how they helped a guy named Mark. Check this out.
My name is Mark Moore. I have been living homeless in abandoned homes for about 4 years. I came from poverty. I was able to get a college degree, work in the professional world. You know, I had goals of achieving success in corporate America, but I carried a lifetime of mental and physical abuse from my childhood. I suffered from anxiety, neurosis, depression, being alone, carrying all this on your shoulders without having insight. It forced me really into a mental breakdown. The darkest moments of homelessness is the sense of helplessness, not being able to take a bath or shower or shave. You just feel like I can't make it and you just want to give up. Love Beyond Walls has helped me tremendously, make me an active part of society. Love Beyond Walls has gone through the process of helping me get identification, tracking down my birth certificate. They've helped me with clothing and a place to shower. They've given me a temporary place to stay. They've been a major part of me transitioning out of homelessness. You need help from others to get you out of homelessness because you can't just do it by yourself. It's going to take helping hands along the way.
Here's the good news. We don't have to have a cape or superhero powers to be able to help other people. Terrence was able to help Mark in a really powerful way, and we can do the very same thing. And Jesus, as the greatest example, was truly a hero. And although he did save the entire world and give the ability to redeem all of mankind back to himself, Jesus also modeled what it looks like to be a hero on a much, much smaller scale. And I think those are the things that are going to apply to us a little more tonight. And when we hear a story like Love Beyond Walls with Terrence and Mark, it really inspires us and it moves us because it makes the big acts of heroic nature seem within grasp. It makes them seem attainable and seem like things that we can do. And so Jesus saved the entire world, and yet Jesus modeled the heroic acts on a much smaller scale. And in John chapter 13, we see Jesus kind of explaining this to his disciples. Now, this moment was revolutionary for two reasons. One, during that time in history, people's feet were not very clean. People wore open-toed shoes, sandals of sorts, and so people would be walking through the dirt. Imagine if it had been raining that day. Their feet would have been muddy. Potentially, if they were walking around with livestock, it would have been maybe caked in animal droppings. So one, that was a disgusting job that Jesus actually did. And number two, Jesus wasn't just their buddy. Jesus wasn't just a random guy. He was their respected and their honored rabbi. And so the thought of someone of such a status being someone to serve them in such a menial way would almost have been offensive to allow to happen. And yet Jesus was thinking much bigger than that, and he was modeling true love and heroic deeds. But washing his disciples' feet was an extremely important thing, but really what he was modeling is how we meet the needs of others in our life. We meet other people's needs. The same night, Jesus also said something else to his disciples, and check out what it says there in verses 34 and 35. Jesus, our hero, taught and modeled love and care for other people. He didn't just say you should do these things. Jesus actually did those things, and he modeled it. Jesus spoke the words, and Jesus also did the actions. And Jesus really, in that moment, he knew what was about to happen to him. Jesus was about to be betrayed. He was about to be falsely accused. He was about to be arrested, put on trial, and eventually murdered for something he didn't do. And yet, in the midst of that big plan that Jesus had, he was still along the way modeling what it looks like to serve people on a smaller scale. For Jesus, they weren't empty words when he was saying he was serving his disciples. He put those things into action. So often we say we want to do big things, or we act like we want to do big things. We post on social media about how we want to do big things, and yet the reality is we're not actually living those big things out in our day-to-day life. God's decision to love me sacrificially is a decision that helps me to love others unconditionally. The love that Jesus shared and showed for us should spur us to show that same love for other people. Now, it's not just about doing something and getting something in return, because when Jesus washed the disciples' feet, what did he truly get in return? Nothing. It's not about trying to put it on display for the world to see. Social media is fantastic, and it's an amazing tool to spread the message of Jesus. And yet, if all we are doing is good deeds so that we can put them on display, what is the true motive of our heart? What is the true love that we're operating from? It's maybe more love of ourselves than it is a love for other people. But Jesus sacrificially served. He did it when no one was looking, and he did it even when people were looking, where it would make him look foolish to others. Jesus still modeled that. In the same way that Jesus heroically cared for people in front of him, he told us to do the same thing, and this is a big point of this message. Heroes care for those in front of them. Right? So often we wonder, what does this look like for us? What should I be doing? Am I supposed to go around, find my friends and say, yo, can I wash your feet? Can I scrub your toes? Not exactly, but the reality is when we ask the question, okay, so what can I do? The answer is, where should I be looking? And you should be looking at the people that you are most closely by. Right? We don't have to travel across the ocean and go on missions trips to serve other people. We believe those are super beneficial things. And yet if we're doing that in spite of the needs that are right in front of us, even within our own friend groups, then I think we're missing the truth and really missing the point of what Jesus was doing. Here's the reality that I want to say. Ordinary places are filled with extraordinary opportunities to serve people. Right? So one of the issues that we have is that we're not always looking for those needs, or we're not always listening for those needs. Wherever you are, learn to be aware of the people around you. Learn to be cognizant of who you are around. Right? When you see a need, don't just think, oh, I hope somebody deals with that, or I hope that person gets the help that they need, or I hope somebody else comes along. Find a way to be a part of that solution. Jesus once asked his disciples a couple rhetorical questions. Do you have eyes to see? Or do you have ears to hear? Sort of kind of pushing them, saying, hey, if you see something or you hear something, you should do something about it. Right? If you see a need, you should do something. Just like Terrence in the story with Love Beyond Walls, he saw a need in Mark. in his life. He didn't just think, oh, I hope someone deals with that. Terrence and his organization did something about it. If you want to do a better job caring for the people in front of you, I want to talk to you about 4 quick words. Number 1, awareness. The first thing that you need to do is you have to learn to be aware. So often our eyes are closed and our ears are closed, maybe subconsciously, but sometimes on purpose to the needs around us. We see needs on the news. We see needs on our friends' social media pages. We see needs in our interactions with our friends, and yet we need to learn to be aware, to train ourselves to be more aware of the needs of people in our lives. Number 2, listen, right? This is a huge thing. So often we're bad at this, but truly listening to somebody else, not listening to try to think about what is my response going to be, but truly listening to somebody else share their story will open up your eyes to a world of needs that you maybe never saw in their lives before. Number 3, interpretation, right? If we want to care about the people that are in front of us, we need to think about how our words are interpreted, right? We need to think about how we communicate. When somebody shares a need with you, how are you responding to that person? What words are you using? Are you making them feel valued? Or are you making their needs feel insignificant? Are you making them feel like you see them? Or are you making them feel like they're more of a nuisance? And number 4, sensitivity. Right? Sometimes it's easy to say, yo, you need to get over that. You just got to move on. You got to figure it out. You got to just get yourself together. And yet sometimes that's much easier said than done. And the reality of someone trying to pull themselves out of their own mess can be really difficult. And that's why it's important for us to be sensitive to somebody's needs, to not judge them because of the situation they're in, but really to truly learn to see how can we help that person meet the needs. Because here's the reality. Heroes care for people in front of them. And you have tons of people in front of you. Think about the places that you go, right? Now, school, I realize that was kind of a crazy situation, the ending of our school year. But at school, you are surrounded by peers the same age. You go to a movie theater, you are surrounded by other people that are enjoying the same type of a thing that you like. You go to a coffee shop, you're surrounded by people who have a similar interest to you. You are constantly surrounded by needs, and yet we have to train ourselves to truly see those needs. We have to train our eyes to see them. We have to train our ears to be listening for those key words where someone's talking about a struggle. It's not just them venting. Maybe it's them sharing a story because they think that we might be able to be a part of the solution, because heroes look in ordinary places, find extraordinary opportunities to meet the needs of other people along with those people, and that truly is our job. So my challenge for you this week is to consider this question: who are you going to heroically care for? Right? Who is someone in your life? Maybe right now you're thinking about an individual. You're like, you know what? While he's been talking, I thought about this specific person. I would encourage you right now, maybe text them. Maybe shoot them a DM on social media. Let them know that, hey, you were talking to me about this thing that you were struggling with, and really I want to be a part of helping you get through that. Right? So how can you heroically meet the needs in somebody else's life? We just have to be looking for those things. And I believe that if we pray and we ask God to direct our steps, this is a prayer I pray very often. Lord, direct my steps. Give me divine opportunities. Give me appointments with other people, Lord, that you set up. And God, help me to meet the needs of other people. Jesus modeled this for us. He didn't just say, go and do this. Jesus washed the feet of his disciples when really it should have been the other way around. So look for the needs in your life, in other people's lives, and find ways to meet those needs. Find ways to solve problems like Love Beyond Walls. Find ways to see somebody who is experiencing a difficulty and be part of that solution. Thanks so much for being with us tonight on Youth Online. I'm going to say a quick prayer. Father God, thank you so much for how you have cared for us and shown love for us, God. And I pray that you help us to show the same love for others and help us to show the same care for others, Jesus. I thank you that you modeled it, Lord, and I pray that in our lives we're able to put it into practice. I pray that in our lives we're able to demonstrate that as well, Lord. Give us open doors and opportunities. God, give us eyes to see. God, give us ears to hear. And God, give us the passion, Lord, the wherewithal inside of us, Lord, to make a difference in the lives of people around us. Amen. Thanks so much.